Good afternoon. Hello and welcome to this virtual event on the changing landscape of legal careers. As part of our month-long initiative on the future law, we are excited to host a fireside chat with two leading experts in the field. The conversation will explore the challenges and opportunities that law students face today and how they can prepare for the future of the legal profession. Welcome to this informative and inspiring discussion. To have a conversation with us today, we have two distinguished guests, Mr. Nipun Bhatiaa and Ms. Shilpa Laharwal. So I think I'll start with Shilpa first. Shilpa has been with Fox Mandal. She worked with us for a long time, and not only with us, she worked with the various firms, and she was heading HR here for our firm for quite a few years. And I was just looking at your LinkedIn profile. You are like a celebrity. You are almost nearing 1 lakh follower, which is like an influencer, right? For LinkedIn.
Yeah, actually, the thing is, I think this really kind of accelerated in 2020 post the pandemic. So yeah.
And, Shilpa, please tell us what you've been up to, what you're doing, and how you're engaging with these law students. The fresh law graduates and the legal professionals.
Okay. So while Santosh, thank you first of all so much for all your kind words that you said about me. Um, while my work is not only related to law students, it is across for all other sectors. But coming from a law firm background, I kind of have been with law firms for over 7 years. So, with that kind of an exposure, I do work with a lot of legal professionals, students, as well as experienced professionals. Till about 2020, I was working as HR in various companies. After law firms, then IT is what I naturally chose in Bangalore. And after IT, I went independent. Now I work as a resume writer. I work as a person who basically positions people in the right role, in the right, portraying them in a manner which will be valuable to the employer. Right, when someone's reading their profile or someone's reading about them, it should add value. So that's a work that I do, and I work across students. I've worked with CXO level people. Across industries, across borders as well.
So you are the connecting link between law firm, the legal companies, and those the candidates.
Well, at least from the tools part of it, yeah, the tools that people need, as first thing that anybody would want to see is a resume. So yeah.
Yes. Thank you for joining us today. So Nipun, please tell us, let everybody know what you've been doing in terms of leading LLC, and also other than that, how you are engaging with these law students and legal law graduates.
Okay, so legally consulting, as a lot of people know, we are the management consultants to legal fraternity, and not just in India, globally. And we've been doing this for close to a decade and a half now. I started my journey with at a law firm. I handled the operational aspects there. I am a qualified lawyer and a chartered accountant. So having the chartered accountancy education helped me understand the operations and the financial aspects pretty well. And at the time when we were deepening legally consulting, at that time we found out that this is the missing piece in the puzzle. A lot of law firms do not know. They are very good lawyers, but they may not be as good managers of running their practice. That's the gap we try to fill through legally consulting. And as I've mentioned, we've been doing it for a decade and a half now. A large part of managing the law firm deals with the people, because we are in a service industry, we are in a people's business. So my interaction with law students happens at many levels. A lot of times when firms have very detailed internship programs, then I speak to law students. I help law students understand what are their expectations from them during the internship period, how they should really treat it like a penultimate step before they're taking up a full-time career. And once they come on board, even with a lot of firms, we've started detailed programs for assessment internships. I'm personally involved with a lot of universities where I usually go in and conduct sessions. I talk to students through my LinkedIn channel. So a lot of people are welcome to leave their queries with me. Of course, I get queries on my Instagram, which I'm not very fond of. But having said that, I understand students are looking to find feet, and they perhaps look for any possible channel to reach out for help. But my interaction with them, I see them as the future for tomorrow, and I really value what students bring to the table. I think they have a lot of energy, they have a lot of zeal to make it into the profession, and I really get to learn a lot from them as well. That's how my interaction with them happens in my day-to-day work.
Fantastic. So thank you, Nipun, and thanks, Shilpa, for joining us today. And just coming to this, before we get to those law students and other related issues, we wanted to understand, of course, there's a divide pre-2020 and post-2020. So definitely, we don't know kind of if somebody says that we are not impacted, we are not affected, and nothing has changed. I don't know if I find somebody or we find somebody who says that, but how is this Indian legal industry doing today, post 2020?
So, very interesting observation, Santosh. I think there's a complete shift of power dynamics from 2020 to 2023. All of us know that when pandemic hit us, and people had a lot of question marks in sustainability with respect to continuity. A lot of law firms, they I'm very sure they weren't very happy doing it, but they had some of the firms slashed their salaries. Some of the firms put the fresh hiring on hold. Even the offer letters that had gone out, firms were constrained to withdraw those offers. And I'm not saying any of the firm happily did it, but the circumstances were such that some firms who had corpus, who had the budgets in the pockets to afford and continue without getting impacted, tried to do it. But the some of the ones who did not have as much corpus, or who did not have as much funds and budgets to kind of cope up with an uncertain situation like that, had to were constrained to give up their offices. They moved into virtual spaces, and obviously impact was seen on recruitment, or slashing of salaries, withholding of bonuses. Interestingly, even people were uncertain about what future holds for them. So nobody really, they were wanting to save their jobs. Those who could wanted to save their jobs. So all slashing or all bonus withholding, people were okay with it because they were also standing by the firm in those tough times. But I felt that firms were in the position to bargain much because people wanted to withhold their jobs at that time. So if the firm would dictate terms in terms of not giving out increments, slashing of salaries, reducing the spend on any HR activities, people were kind of okay with it, or they had to be okay with it. But come 2023, when the market started opening up, economic activity came back full throttle, and now firms wanted trained resources. But in the last 2 years, literally no training happened because a lot of people were working from off location. They were not having training which you get from physically working in an office, or when you work and interact as a group. So those kind of trainings, or active court art, all of that could not happen because people were working from a remote location. So when the demand for trained resources started to happen, every firm wanted to hire people who already had some experiences. So I think now the power dynamic has shifted interestingly. Now people are in the position to command a salary because firms have budgets, but the bargaining power is right now more in the hands of people because they know they are in demand. Trained resources are in demand, so they can go and, to a great extent, um, uh, command the terms that they want to work on. So this is one interesting shift that I noticed from pandemic till now today. Of course, I think none of this is premeditated. As I mentioned, firms were constrained to take some of those steps. But I think if you really look at the shifting of power dynamic from the firm focus, it has now become the people focus or the candidate focus. So that's how, interestingly, I was observing this trend over some period of time.
Yes. Shilpa, coming to you, of course, wanted to understand your perspective, and you interacted and closely engaged with with these law students and those job aspirants. So, how these students and the fresh law graduates they kind of handle this 2020 situation, and what that changed in their approach, and of course. Year and a half to they had to do everything online, and I hopefully all the students are back. So what is your take on that?
A lot of law students did get impacted, not being able to attend a traditional classroom by doing online learning. Also, their internships and their practical training that they would get in the courtroom or under a learned lawyer. I'm sure all of that doesn't work that way on a Zoom call or on a virtual way. Sitting next to a senior lawyer and working with that person, I'm sure a lot of law students, especially that batch who would have graduated during that period, have definitely missed out on those practical aspects of it. I'm sure a lot of exams, etc., also got delayed at that time, right? The bar exams and all of those things. So these are some of the things what my interaction with the students I have learned. But opportunities, if you say, look at it, is I think what I have learned from my interaction with other students is, one, I think we have become a more internationalized market, and I mean, we're looking at the world as our oyster now, and everything is technically, tech driven basically, and we work remote, and work from home will always be there. Some people have picked up hybrid working. I think it really depends on what role the person is playing or what the organization wants from that person. So many organizations have chosen a mid path to
Sure, sure. Shilpa,
yeah.
very interesting point. You said, internationalizing everything. And
Yeah.
during that period, I don't know, it's good that every second law student, they did some online course from Oxford, Harvard, and we never dreamt of, going there. At least most of us could not afford that. And also these students doing online internship from those international law firms, probably they would have never got access to. But the point here I'm trying to make is that all those law students who have been kind of affected, they got tagged of these COVID students. That means 1.5 year, 2 years, and sometimes a little more than that. Do you think that have anything on their I won't say use term stigma, but something on their CV, that whether the employer is going to look that, oh, so you are the 2020 students, you are that COVID student, and how they are kind of facing any issue, if any at all.
I think advantage for them, if you ask me, because they have learned remote working, they have learned remote collaboration. It's a skill, it's an art to be able to connect with your client or the people you're working with, not face to face, but through the digital medium.
So,
So
do you think this technology has kind of come at the right time, and it is helping these lawyers?
Yes, yes, absolutely, Santosh. As even Shilpa mentioned, that I think preparedness set in, which is good because now at least this generation that survived the period of COVID is future ready for any sort of situation that may arise similar in future, God forbid. But I think uh, one after the other, one, during the pandemic, they got a chance to upskill themselves. And I would call upskilling because I think they did invest a fair bit of time, as you mentioned, stuff from Harvard or other such places, even the local indigenous uh, players in the education sector. So one, they did spend a lot of time upskilling themselves. I think the sharper ones utilized the time period, that if they could not do a physical internship or if they can't be present in the court, then some of them definitely utilize their time observing proceedings online, upgrading themselves. And I think immediately thereafter, I think 2022 is when we were still struggling with different variants of COVID, and 2023, the advent of 2023, and we see the surge of all these AI platforms, I think ChatGPT became a huge thing, followed by Bard, then Bing, and there are several other platforms who are now, implementing AI in a big way. I feel that at least the threat, for that matter, to be very honest, is what I see from the more senior ones. People who are 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, 12 years in the profession, because not everyone's very savvy with technology. But the younger generation, on the contrary, knows how to smartly use these tools to better their service offerings. So, if trained in the right direction and used in the right stride, I think they really are the ones uh, who are young, fresh blood, waiting to experiment. They are also gullible in terms of acquiring new skill sets. So if really they dig deeper, I will give you real life examples. I think when court started functioning online, then struggling with the software, tagging of files, pagination, numbering, because court has a certain format. So, and there were, some certain PDF softwares they were used to do the pagination, tagging, indexing. Trust me, the more senior lawyers in the team could not do it, and they were not even really, that in that sense really willing to come forth and learn it. And maybe it's not their job also, but suddenly the junior players in the team got a lot of prominence because, oh, you are the wizard, you can do this, can this be sent to so and so in the team, and that junior most fellow is happily doing all the pagination, all the basic work, because even the clerks who play a very important part in the physical court, they did take a backseat because everything was going virtual. Not all clerks are also technology savvy. So I think the rise of this batch of lawyers is important, because while on one hand they did miss out on certain portions of not learning through the physical environment, I think they more than made up for it by doing different things. In fact, I think apart from that, I see a lot of students also became some sort of founders of some initiative. Some wanted to do their own newsletters, some started an online portal, some people started collating research on various topics, making it available. So I think when they had time at their hand and the constraint was on physical movement, I think the sharp generation of today really made use of the free time or the available time and upskilled themselves in more ways than one, not just the education part of it, but the practical utility aspect of it, be it technology, be it even embracing platforms or the AI platforms that I spoke about. So I think they didn't miss out on much. In fact, I feel some of them are definitely better equipped than what they were or their counterparts in the earlier years.
So interestingly, earlier I saw those senior lawyers, whether in High Court or Supreme Court, the younger ones, they arguing with one iPad, nothing else. And yesterday I was watching Mr. Kapil Sibal arguing in Supreme Court before Constitution Bench, and he was using iPad. So it was kind of really good to see that. I don't know whether it was pushed for us, or I don't know if generally the lawyers, if you try to push something, they kind of averse to change. But whatever this 2020 happened and brought us, I think it was good for all of us. And things are changing for good, and there is some change we are seeing at every level. Shilpa, of course, this technology is good and is available for the students and everybody who's in metros, tier one, tier two, tier three cities. But the students who are not fortunate to the technology or to these systems and etc. A lot of law colleges in a smaller town and those places where the technology has not penetrated yet, and they have been kind of at the receiving end. What is your take on that? I'm sure a lot of people would have reached out to you saying that we are missing out on this. So do you think they are the ones, the missing lot?
100%, 100%. But what you see, it's all I always tell anyone who reaches out to me that it's, rather than you blame your city or your college or anything, put it upon yourself to learn it, right? You go do an internship, not necessarily in a law firm. There are so many legal tech firms which have come by now. So many automations happening for legal industry. So much of all these document management software. So there are a number of things like that, right? With the technology and the AI and algorithms coming in, one can definitely try doing some kind of an internship or an externship or whatever you call it, and learn from all of that. Definitely, it is not that you're because you're not from a tier one college or you're not from a tier one city, you are going to miss that out. But then you do have your opportunities during internships. You do also have a lot of things you can learn on YouTube, being one big university. Why not take an initiative and learn from there?
Absolutely, absolutely. And trust me, my 5.5-year-old daughter, she comes and teaches me every day something new,
Oh,
by watching YouTube. So you can see where this word is going.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Right. Now, since everybody talked about, various things, what technology and this 2020 has changed for them. And as Nipun, you rightly mentioned, a lot of people lost the job, and there were a lot of, kind of pause on the new hiring. And even if some people were given, they were recruited, they were put on bench, and I think some of them still did not get a chance to come and work. And definitely, it's been a long period. And other than working in the law firm, this legal industry, there have been some alternative legal services. And there are a lot of opportunities today, which were probably not there 20 years ago. Earlier, when we talked about the legal profession after doing law, they were like, going in-house or joining a law firm. And if you're not smart enough, with all due respect to everybody who worked there, they got a job in KPO and LPO. So there were, very limited options. Of course, the teaching was another option, but today there are plenty of options. So what are those options, Nipun? You know better. If you can just highlight for our, listeners here.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing this up, Santosh. You've taken up a topic that's really close to my heart because I think the taking offbeat career path is something that I have also chosen that field for myself. Um, a lot of people ask me, why this field? Because you're a qualified lawyer, you're in fact even a qualified chartered accountant. Why did you choose to do this? And I said, it sounds pretty cliche, but I said, I knew what I did not want to do, even after pursuing the kind of educational degrees I got. I knew I will never see myself working only on those numbers and the sheets and all of that. I wanted something where I get to interact with a lot of people, touch their lives, influence them in some way or the other. So that option came to me pretty naturally and organically. But I think not a lot of people are able to identify those paths for themselves. So within the legal field, if you want to stay connected to the field while you may not still want to go the traditional way of practicing law, I think today there are a lot of other options. You can still be in and around the field while not doing the traditional lawyering in terms of being a litigation lawyer or a corporate lawyer, as we love to call this, the great corporate and litigation divide. I think today LPOs have come up in a big way. Even there are other organizations on the lines of, let's say, the big fours or the big three now, who do specialized sort of investigations around in and around the areas of white collar crime. So I think you may or may not be a hardcore lawyer or practicing law, but you can help the forensics part of it or the white collar part of it. I think they a lot of those students are getting interested into pursuing career in that field. Then there is LPOs we are all aware of, legal tech. So many lawyers who want to bridge the gap between, how to make judgments available in vernacular languages, how to make sure judgments are searchable, translations, transcripts. So students who have a bent of mind on the technology side are opting for the legal tech career, or they're working with legal tech companies in bettering their software solutions. Then there is management consulting is what like we do. So management consulting, legal recruitment is another whole ball game where you are working with lawyers and law firms, but not practicing law as such, but understanding the life of a lawyer helps. When we give HR solutions to a lot of law firms, our solutions are way better than any other HR consultant, because being a lawyer, we understand what is the life of a lawyer like and how the law firms function. So I think uh, lawyers who are also getting deeper into the field of HR solutions is becoming a very different sort of skill set, very niche area in which even consulting firms like us, we were the ones who started this trend of law firm management in the country. Now, of course, there are other players who are kind of they're coming into the same field, but this has become a huge craze. On a daily basis, I get requests from so many students who want to know more about law firm management, who want to understand where should they be picking up more knowledge about law firm management, what should they be reading. So that becomes a very lucrative field. I think some very again very niche areas like personal image management for very senior lawyers. So you'll be surprised that you know we are retained by lawyers of top 5 firms of the country to manage their personal branding, to manage their personal image. That's again a very different sort of service area that has come about. Then there is yes, okay. Then there is content writing. There is legal journalism that has come up in a big way. A lot of students want to get into reporting about what's happening in the court, so they're wanting to get into more journalism side of it. So legal journalism has come up in a big way. Lawyers are also working with international firms as paralegal support, so that has again become a career option. So if you really ask me in a nutshell, I think business coaching, a lot of lawyers are becoming coaches to lawyers. So when you become a life coach like I am, and even our founder Bhatiaa, we're both qualified life coaches. So helping the senior managers, senior management, managing partners deal with day-to-day stress. We are in a cutthroat field. Sometimes we want to achieve results in a very short span of time. So all that stress, how to manage that. So legal coaching is coming up in a big way, which is not coaching related to hardcore subject matter of coaching, which is coaching related to how do you manage your practice, how do you run your firm, how do you manage your life, how do you manage the aspects of personal and professional life. So there are so many, sky's the limit when students tell me that our options have stopped because so and so firm is not accepting us. I've applied to 5 places. I say sky is the limit. There is, apart from the traditional practice of law, which I have the utmost respect for, but if there are people who do not find the true calling in the traditional practice, then there is a lot of options available for them: LPO, legal tech, law firm management consulting, personal branding, content writing, legal journalism, paralegal support, lawyers taking up CXO level positions or chief heads positions in the firms to manage the practice, and of course, coaching. These are some of the things that come to my mind.
There's so many avenues today. And then, do you think Nipun lawyers make a better CEO?
Yes, I will say that again, purely lawyers can make very good CEOs if they have that bent of mind to manage a firm or run a practice. Because with all due respect to anyone at the CXO level position, I feel that understanding of the law firm is very vital to the service itself. It has to be understood that, and I have seen a lot of people not doing the best job of, you may hire business consultants, you may hire very senior HR consultants. Sometimes I feel that if they do not have the hang of understanding how a law firm functions, then a lot of best practices that you're trying to implement are being implemented in isolation. They are not very realistic to the ground level where the work is actually happening. So lawyers who have either been in some sort of practice, who have experience of working in a law firm in either capacity, whether as a lawyer or a business support, sometimes understand the groundwork very well. So the best practices that they will suggest or implement, or any changes they would want to implement, will be a combination of their technical expertise, their brain, their experience, but also very tailored to how the functioning of a law firm happens. It can't be, if you're from a beverage industry or food and beverage industry, or if you're from hospitality, you may pick some elements which are relevant. But we all know law firms function in a very, very different way. Sometimes it's not in our hands how we function. A lot of it is driven by the market demands or what the client demands. If the client is there is a likelihood to that the client will be put behind the bars tomorrow, you will have to pull an overnighter. So at that time, if I as an HR come and say, oh, there should be work-life balance, no client will retain my firm because the
You
client's
are
neck is on the line.
the moment you say that there's a work-life balance, probably they will say you are in the wrong profession. We can't say that, but I don't know how this young generation is going to respond to this. Shilpa, coming to you now, when we're talking about these alternate legal services, are these those job aspirants and these law students and these professionals, are they reaching out to you asking that if my CV is not shortlisted, selected for this particular job, what are those other alternate careers and how you are advising them?
Yeah, definitely, Santosh. In fact, I've learned so much about these alternative legal services from the people I interact with, from my clients, because they come down to me to say, "Hey, look, I'm a law student, but I'm really interested in legal tech, so I need to build my resume towards legal tech, or I'm really interested in getting into content building for some foreign law firm which has kind of hired them." So. There are a lot of the many aspects which Nipun just mentioned. Also, there are many other alternative legal services that people do reach out to. But what I say and what I tell all my clients is whether you choose. In as a lawyer in a law firm, or as an in-house lawyer, or some public service place, or whether you're choosing all these alternative services, when you build your resume, you build towards that. Don't put everything, like people make this really big mistake of writing their resume as a history of everything that they have done. Really, nobody is interested to know everything that you have done. You need to write what your next role or your next employer is wanting. So need to kind of strategize and see what the industry is wanting and what you're offering, and bring a balance of that and write that out on your profile.
Interesting take on that. And uh, these young gen lawyers, they are really smart and smarter than all of us. But I don't know whether they are fulfilling the gap, the requirement, of today's demand. Now, coming to the next topic, and in last 1 year or so, we have seen the AI. Everybody talks about AI. Everybody uses AI. And just to mention here, one of our paralegal sent me one leave application. I was amazed to see that how neatly, how nicely it was drafted. I had to read twice to understand what exactly he's trying to say. And trust me, I did not take it a second to guess that it was not done by him, it was done by AI. But even paralegals, the law, forget about law students, they are using, and these paralegals are of not 10 years, they are a much more experienced one. So how this entire AI and this Gen Z, who we call today, when they have access to the best technology available today, or probably they know more than us which technology to use for what solution. What is the future of this legal profession? Where it
I
is?
feel that even if you're using Google or now AI, use it as the initial points of directing your research. It will give you some sort of semblance. You may pick up some data from there, cross verify. We have seen very many examples of any of such platforms, be it ChatGPT or Bing or Bard or whatever some similar platforms are. They can cook facts because perhaps they are trained for this, or they are a one plus in that sense. So they may cook facts. If you are creating any document, any work product using an AI, it becomes an absolute onus to check whether the facts are correct or not. Build on it. Build from the initial outline that you get in a document, or if you get direction for a research or a proposition, build on it through your own efforts. So what can technology do for you? It can cut short some of your research time, which you would have otherwise spent a lot on locating the physical journal, reading through it, highlighting through it. And in a physical copy, you can't control it. You can't find the relevant keywords. So technology has definitely cut short a lot of time. But when I say the time that is available at your hand, utilize it to better your work product. Go one up on technology. Use your creativity. Use your intelligence. Use your power of analysis and deduction. Do not become lazy that if a work product has been created to you, you may be able to churn out more as a factory. That cannot be the mindset, because in that case, you will make mistakes. You will rely on an AI. Please, let's not forget the A in the AI. I think a lot of people are focusing on the I, which is intelligence, but a lot of people are not focusing on the artificial part of it. There's nothing artificial about human mind, but there is definitely artificial about that intelligence. So I think use AI to get through to some level of your research. It can shorten the time you would have otherwise taken to build up on something, but utilize that time to better your work product or better what an AI software gives you. Do not blindly just forward it, or if it's not gelling with your writing style, or if it's not gelling with the way you feel the research is going about, do not blindly pass it on, because when you will be questioned, then at that time you can't say that this isn't me. Sorry, please talk to Chat GPT, because it's artificial.
Very interesting, and I hope this evolving technology, AI or whatever machine learning we call it as, it is being taught in the school, or the technology, the evolving technology. And I don't know whether the these new law colleges or schools are changing their curriculum to kind of adopt this ever evolving technology, and new emerging technology or emerging issues are they evolving. And also, Shilpa, now coming to you, you interact with these the students and engage. Do you think there is a gap between what they are taught versus what is the demand there out there, and how you kind of go back and tell them how to fill that gap, and what is that kind of void we see there?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, not just the legal industry across, there is a huge gap between what is taught in the colleges and what is actually happening in the corporate world out there. I mean, a lot of firms have that program initially, right? When they get in the new kids and then they put them on the whatever campus to corporate training, etc. Because while they may have learned a lot of things theoretically, practically it is it is not the same thing at all. I would say there's a huge gap. There are some schools or law schools and various universities who are now bringing industry experts to talk about corporate environment, who are now doing a lot of that, but there is a gap to.
Yeah, and we see that Nipun, coming to you, what is your understanding? What is your experience?
You have again, Santosh, touched a topic that I feel very passionately about. I feel that our curriculum still remains pretty archaic. We are not really. I'll come to the non-law part of it later, but even in the law part, um, at least the elective courses or the elective subjects could focus on a lot of new age work that is practical, that's upcoming. So whether it's the ESG practice, or even when IBC started taking up full shape, or environment is coming up in a big way, um, technology, media, telecommunication, the crypto part of it, the tech part of it, even the new age internet part of it, not the very old IT provisions. I just feel that we are still very much into a set curriculum or a set syllabus, which may not, sports and gaming, things like these, when will they make their way to mainstream uh, college syllabus is what my question is. Secondly, I think the onus is only on students to go fetch internships, and then the onus is on law firms to give them the practical aspect or taste of a practical life. I want to understand, if a law student doesn't do internships during the course, or somebody is not able to fetch internships because the college is not helping them. So after 3 years or 5 years, what will that person come out to be? Can you even call that student future ready? The answer is no. So I think somewhere the future ready part of it is kind of lacking in the law schools. So I feel
They
that time has also come to at least address two things which are very, very important. A, make the syllabus and curriculum very up to date with what are the recent laws, what are the recent changing dynamics in the legal sector. That's one. Second, um, also to equip them with the world of the legal world apart from just the subjects of law.
Now, Shilpa, do you think these colleges or these law students are kind of course, a lot of them trying to get different certifications from different places, and now a lot of even the law firm started giving certification courses and all. But do you think are they teaching? Are they imparting required
A lot
knowledge?
of students, when they come into the firms, they don't understand the commercial side of it or the business side of the firm. They just come and act out, etc., but they don't understand that there is a client and the client is bringing in revenue, because of which, I'm sorry, just a moment. So the client is bringing in money. So this is how a timesheet has to be filled, or this is how I have to bill. All that commercial awareness is not taught during the what do you say, during the curriculum, whatever, when they teach them. So that's one area. And also with the AI coming in, I feel the ethical side of it, or the um, but the ethical side of AI, because even AI, when even Chat GPT or Bard or whatever, when it gives some output, it says that this may not be right. I'm just some machine bringing churning out some information based on what I have. So adding, when someone is using that information and sending it out, what are your ethics towards that, your professional responsibility towards that? um, Also, an important thing I believe which is not taught in law schools is the cross cultural, because we are internationalizing everything. The cross cultural way of dealing with people from other than our country, that is something I feel can be included.
Sure, sure. Great.
Yeah.
Now, coming to the next topic, the job market trends and those how do we kind of search those trending jobs.
Mm.
We did a quick survey to understand where these law students want to go after completing the law. And no price for guessing. 51% they want to join corporate. So I don't know whether it's fancy, it's glamorous, it's well paying. But one thing was surprising to see that after corporate it was litigation. Over 23% after corporate they wanted to do litigation. Now I thought generally that they would go for those technology law or any other fancy trending areas. But after corporate it was litigation. So there's still a hope, and I think a lot of colleges they are still pushing those law students to opt or look for a career in litigation. So coming to you, Nipun, what is those trending job market where most of these the law students are going today, and looking at what you would have seen in past couple of weeks, how these big law firms are hiring in hundreds and mostly in the corporate teams. So, do you think is this only corporate? There is nothing else beyond that, and only these are metros and tier two, tier three cities, or is there any job outside there as well, other than these, the top firms and top cities?
See, Santosh, I always have felt that when you choose law as a field, as a profession, I won't say that uh, do not expect a rosy picture, but let's also understand that it's a professional choice that's going to yield results over a period of time. The gray hair, the experience definitely matters a lot. And if you've chosen this field, then be patient. Having ambition is pretty good, but do not lose sight on what is it that you want to eventually go and do in the long run. If you really ask me about the choice between corporate and litigation or what the trends also look like, so yes, corporate on the face of it looks good because physical drudgery is a little less. In court, you're doing a physical drudgery as well. So, a lot of people have this way of eliminating that. If I have to kind of do a daily grind, I'd at least be sitting in an air conditioned office rather than having to kill myself in summer, or hustling from one court to another. But having said that, there are some lawyers who feel that till they do not step into the premises of the court, are you even a lawyer? So I think the choice between litigation and corporate, or even to go set up your own practice or become a counsel over a period of time, it remains very personal, and it gets shaped by several circumstances. Sometimes it's the family push, sometimes it's an individual's own aspirations, and obviously you can't rule out the monetary aspirations as well. But I think corporate emerges as the first clear winner, purely from the fact that transactions have a lot of nuances to it, and it's also whenever there is economic activity on the ascent, then any sort of commercial law related fields pick up because economy is witnessing a lot of activities. But having said that, if the litigation has come about a close second, that's also because of the fact that now with litigation there is a general clubbing of ADR as well. So usually people say it in the same breath that it's disputes or dispute resolution practice, litigation, ADR, mediation. So I think those parts have also come up in a big way. A lot of students I see are undergoing trainings for arbitration and mediation. I'm a certified and enrolled mediator myself because I believe in mediation as a tool to overcome conflicts. So I think when we say that litigation is picking up, I think it's used as a bundle term where you also club with a lot of dispute resolution work with respect to arbitration, conciliation, negotiation part of it. And if you really ask me, what are the other areas when I talk to law students, so I can talk out of my own experiences. I think a lot of law students, because they feel that the media and entertainment laws are bringing you closer to the entertainment industry, so they want to pursue that without realizing that there's a lot that goes into building a practice or even building a name for yourself in the media sector. They just feel that you'll be rubbing shoulders with the movie actors and celebrities, but it is not that easy as it looks like on the face of it. So media definitely remains a very popular choice. Then there is a combination of CS plus law, people who are interested in having those sorts of legal qualifications and becoming pursuing a career in the secretarial practice or the compliance practice, as we call it. That's also coming up in a big way. I still don't see people going very popular on the niche areas like taxation or competition law. Even all those your recent ESGs and all are coming up in a big way. Again, IBC and the NCLT, NCLT practice, people club it with the litigation only. So when you mentioned that litigation has come about a close second with 23%, if I'm not wrong, that's also because it's allied with a lot of other ancillary areas, which could be your IBCs and the ADR part of it. I don't see too much popularity with areas related to taxation and all of that. IP remains popular again, but clubbed with media and entertainment. So everybody wants to talk about gaming. Everybody wants to talk about blockchain and crypto. Everybody is expert when these fields become buzzing and when these fields become a little bit of active only. But I think the choice, if you really ask me, to a normal a fresh law graduate who wants to set their foot in the field, they will either have a very black and white way of looking at it as corporate litigation, and within those they then after 2 to 3 years start developing their specialization, if not from day zero.
Right. Now, if you look at those current job market trends and the skills in demand, what are those strategies? First of all, you mentioned something patience, which I don't find and I don't see here in this generation. And I don't know if I'm the only one who has experienced and seen that even if those students or those candidates can be selected based on their merits. They use the influence. They use their parents, relatives, friend to get a job, get an internship, and that kind of leaves out other entitled kids. So let's say if tomorrow Nipun ask me that you have to take students, we can't say no, right? what happens to those other students? So now, of course, a lot of from good colleges, students have been selected. The placement has been completed. But what about those other students who are not having any influential background, who doesn't have the tag of those big law colleges, and the law firms are not reaching out to them? How they should go about searching job, and how they should go about looking for those internships and stuff like that. Shilpa, want to hear your experience.
Yes, well, of course, there will be a lot of such cases which we have seen in the law firm industry where you always get somebody coming through somebody, saying that, put my this person in or that person in. This is something which I've seen in the other industries have implemented, which I guess the law firm should also eventually implement, would be having a automated system shortlist people rather than a human shortlist people based on how they present themselves, etc. So various human biases go away. Sometimes people say we only want, whether it's something as simple as a gender biasness or a age biasness or whatever, race biasness, all these biasnesses are removed by using that one software that is put in. But in today's world, I believe that there is a lot more career options. In fact, I wanted to, I just remembered as we were talking, I wanted to touch upon that, and I think this is the right time to do that. I have had a client who reached out to me, uh, who was a lawyer who learned data analysis, and they have firms doing data analysis to identify the past patterns and trends in getting, case outcomes, etc. So that's something new which has come up, which I recently heard about because I got to do. So there are, I think, a lot of things hidden and which is there for students. Okay, they may not have got an internship with the law firm, but there is a lot of other things for them to do.
Nipun, we were just doing a study for this a month long initiative what we're doing, and we're talking to a lot of those interns and law students. So what happens? Everybody is going to that one and leaving out other firms, and the other firms probably whatever coming from smaller colleges, they filling up first. So there is a lot of kind of misguidance. Everybody is aspired to be uh, a lawyer in the topmost law firm in Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, or wherever it is. Nobody wants to even be associated with the smaller firm. And so, if these are the instances, blaming the law firm, blaming the industry that probably they are not getting a response, they are not enough vacancy, there are not enough opportunities. How fair that is?
I think it's we have to blame it on the lack of awareness, Santosh, and I'm not sure if enough is being done about that. See, there's no harm in aspiring to be a part of the top law firm, but forget internships. Even people who have joined these firms as lawyers, as qualified lawyers, do they stay there forever? The answer is no. Any big law firm faces as much attrition, sometimes more in comparison to others. So if all's so amazing, why would people leave? So we also have to understand that perhaps the law students are not aware of different kind of responsibility every size of the firm has to offer. And I'm not speaking for or against any of the firm. All I want students to understand is that in bigger firms, you will be required to do a lot of teamwork. There are bigger teams put on one transaction. You may play a limited role for some time. Then you graduate to become more, deeper role. Then you further become more experienced to lead a transaction or be the face in front of the clients. So their model is such. There's nothing wrong or right in it, but you do not get to client facing till about a certain level. You work on redacted documents, you work on propositions on a no-name basis. Every transaction is given a code name. You don't know what client you're working for. So that's a different sort of learning. You learn, but in a different way. In comparison to it, a slightly lesser tier firm or someone in tier 2 or tier 3, they may really put you on a client facing transaction from day one when you join, and that sort of learning is again completely different, because there you're not just learning the subject, you may also be learning how to deal with the client, you may also be learning how to face a client, how to answer tough questions the client may ask you in a meeting or in court. So every law firm, whatever be the size, has very different things to offer. My problem is because we have glamorized, the system has glamorized the top firms so much that we feel that, oh, if you're not made to the cut of those really big brand names, you're a loser. You've not got there. We need to change the narrative. You and I need to change the narrative, because we need to make them aware of the kind of learning, different kind of learning they may get when they work with different sort of firms. A boutique firm or a team with very compact team may actually uh, give you a lot of exposure. And some of the law students who take up their first job go with the mindset that, okay, even if I'm getting paid a little less, let me at least learn the basics, let me learn the groundwork, and then I will see. They either bargain their position in the firm, or they will take up another offer, take up another job, which is how the progression functions. But really, if you ask me that question, that why students will only keep the top law firms in mind while applying, and they'll send those applications, and only when they face rejection from there is when they start reaching out, that's actually the truth. But we are the ones who will need to, and that's again where the law schools step in. And I've been in talks with some of the deans and chancellors of such law schools, where I've said that, why don't you familiarize your students with the reality? You may not be able to give them placements. Not everybody gets a placement in the top law firm. So if you are, even starting a placement coordination committee, you've started a placement program, but you've not familiarized the students with the way these different law firms function. So definitely their intention would be to always go behind a bigger brand, without realizing that a bigger brand and a slightly lesser known brand, what they have to offer in terms of their exposure. That sort of intelligent comparison nobody has told them to do. So that is where these gaps really need to be fulfilled, for them to understand how in reality the legal sector functions.
I completely agree, and I think it's you, me, and everybody had to bring that awareness. Tell students this is what you need to do. And in fact, my nephew, he did law, and I kept telling him that you should go to a smaller firm where you get bigger exposure, where you get to do everything, for the first initial few years, versus joining a big firm where you're getting to do small portion of M&A, or a small portion of IP, or a small portion of litigation. So, starting with that, where you have exposure of everything, versus starting where your salary is huge, but you don't have any exposure at all. But it's very difficult to explain, and it's very difficult for them also to understand properly.
Because immediate gratification is always better than old school and old ways of gradually or organically growing into something. So when they hear, and I can completely understand, because the competition is so fierce. So when any of these big law firms announce that we've onboarded 100 plus people and this is the package running into lakhs, I can completely understand it. Rocks the boat. It makes them question, what are we here for? So and so, a counterpart of my similar experience person or just other college is earning lakhs, whereas I'm struggling to make even 10,000. But I think really, and this is my message to everybody who's there on the call today, it's always easy to give into temptation. It's always easy to look for immediate gratification. But trust me, sometimes, and I'm not taking names of any law firms, but for the amount, at the end of the day, anyone running a legal practice or a law firm is a business. At the end of the day, we are service providers, but we are running. Nobody wants to run an unprofitable law firm, right? So if you are hiring somebody for worth of certain lakhs, understand that you'll have to give in that much amount of work, that many amount of hours, that many amount of stressful or pressurizing positions, which you may or may not be cut for. If you're cut for it, you want to take that sort of stress and responsibility. Please, fair enough, aspire for it. But if you want to build your personality holistically, you want to also have your personal life, you want to also go pursue a hobby, you also want to become a better professional on the holistic level, you may not want to have that. You may earn a little lesser buck today, but it's going to more than compensate itself, because you're developing a personality also. And let me tell you, as you grow in the field, when you want to attract clients also, when you want to attract business also, nobody is going to just say, do you know this section, do you know this law, do you know this precedent, I'll give you mandate. No, People connect with personalities. People connect with how you conduct yourself. People connect with how intelligent you are, not just for the subject matter, but as a person, as a personality. So I think those aspects will only be able to build when you have some time to yourself, and you're not running and working 16 hours or 18 out of your 24 hours.
I,
So
I,
make your
I
choices wisely.
I agree. How you apply the law to the particular situation, to the particular problem versus, just knowing and to apply to this one. Coming to you, Shilpa, of course, looking at the changing legal landscape and the law students have to prepare. And as you mentioned, there is a huge gap. So what are those, few takeaways or rather few tips you would like to share with everybody who's here or who would be listening to this one? How they not only in terms of preparing CV or doing those soft skill courses, but also when they are in law school, what are they basic thing they need to take care of, at least in today's time, not pre 2020. What are those small things they need to take care of before they start preparing CV, before they start approaching the law firm or organizations for internship and later for the job? So certain things, if you want to share.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, the first thing I believe, just as Nipun said, being aware what is available for whom, where. In big firms, what is there? In small firms, what is there? In corporate, what is there? In other places, that will only come with them being able to understand, learn, read about the industry, what's happening in the industry, probably attending those different webinars that keep happening where they understand what's happening in the industry. The real world sessions are there. A lot of such sessions are there on LinkedIn. There is some organized in colleges. Attend that. Do your internships. Do those externships, as they call them. Do that. Understand what it is to be, where you are going to be placed at, what is expected out of you, right? The practical skills, not just your theoretical skills, your work on that, work on the legal research, writing, your negotiation, or your ability to communicate and comprehend when you're talking to clients, your emotional intelligence side of it. Really need to work on all these other aspects, not just the textbook or what is available over there, right? Of course, not putting down your technology and innovation that's happening every day. There's something new. Maybe people can subscribe to some newsletters and read it, once a week or so. So they're very much aware of the technology and innovation that's happening. Continuing their education with all those various courses that are available today. Across so many platforms, right? Those micro credentialing that they can do, and definitely do network. I mean, networking is such a beautiful and important thing. uh, don't just meet someone and then burn that bridge and keep quiet. Continue networking is something that will help them throughout. It's not just for them to get an internship or to get a job, but it will definitely help them in their entire career. I think these things is something I believe a student needs to pay attention to.
Even you are on the other side of the table. What are those companies, the law firm, they are look for in the CVs or in the candidates when they kind of screen the CV, when they screen the candidates? What would be your kind of suggestion or those tips to those students that what exactly they should do?
Yeah, so yes,
Shilpa, that was for Nipun, and I'll come back to you.
okay, okay.
Sure. I think when it comes to CV, and I've said this enough number of times, A, less is more. We have a tendency to overwrite. We are also giving the interviewer the chance to question us on whatever we put on the resume. So if you have gone and overcommitted, and the interviewer picks up something from that in the interview and you are unable to answer, you've lost your chance. So when it comes to CV, because whenever I'm going to sit an interview, I'm going to look at the CV and ask you from what you've written. Not necessarily always, but a greater chance is yes. So Be intelligent enough to put your strong points forward. Less is more. And I also feel that on one hand, we keep saying that there's dearth of jobs and we are applied to so many places, we're not getting responses. My question is, have you customized, have you tailor made your application and your CV to the requirements of wherever you're applying? Because we're too much in the short of time that we usually just copy paste the same covering letter, we copy paste the same CV without really tailoring it. And I said, how many of you I use this phrase pretty often. That if I was to make my own CV, I will Nipunify it. I'll give it my version, my best. It's my thought. It should reflect my personality. So, are you similarly? Are you Nipunifying your CVs? Are you giving it the best of your shot? Is it reflective of what the work that you have done? So, the quick part is a law firm would look for. They really will not go into your marks and percentages and scores beyond a point, but what sort of practical exposure you've done? What have you done during your work phase in terms of the litigation matters or the transactions, but also anything with respect to more practical aspect of writing it, even in a deal or a matter or transaction, whatever you've done, what has been your takeaway? What has been the crux of your experience of working on that matter, or that matters a lot because law firms are essentially looking for experiences. What is it, how your CV is exuberating the experience that you've got. So I think five key points. If you were to ask me about CV, do not make it too lengthy. Keep it crisp. Keep it short. Be intelligent to put your strong points forward because there's a great chance that the interviewer will pick from it. Whatever you've written on the CV, you should be able to talk about it without looking at the CV. If anyone asks you to walk them through your CV, you should be able to do that looking into that person's eye, building an eye contact without having to refer to particular pages in the CV. Fourth, make sure the practical experience of your internships or whatever work you have done is highlighted. And C, law firms judge on holistic personality. So if you have done any leadership work, if you have done any content writing work, if you have done anything extra that helps you build, give the law firm an edge that, oh, if this person's onboarded, that person will only just not do the lawyering, but can help in building the social media for the firm or building the BD part for the firm. So if there is anything apart from lawyering, also you hold a passion for, or you've had some sort of experience, make sure that you put that. So these are my quick 5 points. If the students are to ask for CVs, do not make it loud, do not make it jarring. It has to be pleasing to the eye. And it's always good to substantiate what you put on your CV. So in case let's say you've written a couple of articles, or if you've done some writing pieces, because as a fresh law graduate, nobody's really assessing you on your ability or your experience in terms of handling something, but people are wanting to understand academically and translation of that academic into professional experience, how much of that you would be able to do. So if you've done some sort of writing, if you have done some any case study with respect to the work that you've done, add that along with your covering email. That will really give an impression to the employer that somebody's gone extra mile to apply. It's not just a regular cover letter in a CV. Somebody's actually on a no-name basis given us a case study of what role they played in a particular matter, or they have kind of shown us their writing sample or links to their writing sample. That could really be the game changer.
So, very, very interesting. Nipun, these are so basic yet interesting points, and we see most of these CVs, they miss out on these things. I think I don't know where they copy paste, and so much content we find on the CV. Shilpa, do you want to add your points briefly?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree to everything what Tipun said. Keep it as simple as possible. But one thing I wanted to add also to this is that, what I have seen on in resumes, what people do, they just copy their job description and paste it over there. Or whatever job description is there in the ad, they just copy that and paste it there. That really never works. Any employer will know that you're fibbing with it. It makes no sense to do that. Instead of that, write what you have done and what was the outcome of it. As simple as that. You may not have to write how, because how will be your talking point in the interview, but the outcome of like if instead of just writing drafting and negotiating contracts, maybe you will write I drafted or negotiated some 5 6 contracts, which led to some kind of savings. I mean, I'm just giving a sentence. What was the outcome of what work you've done? So always put your performance on the resume, not your responsibilities. Put what was the performance and what was the outcome of that performance, whether it is the work or even if it is just some leadership role you took in your college, or any kind of community building activity that you've done. What was the outcome of that work that you did is what is going to intrigue the employer to ask you more or to may call you for the interview.
Right, right. And
So
generally we
one thing I wanted to add is, I'm sure you must be also getting a lot of resumes which will be like an empty email and say please find attached resumes, right?
not only that, last 1 week, students from a particular college, they have been copying all partners' email IDs and sending it, every single day. Now, how do you expect, these students to get internship or a job?
But they just lost their.
Santosh, I think just to add to what both of you are saying, I think uh, the most basic requirement, which is where all of us completely fail, is read. We are so eager to just when we see vacancy or hiring alert, we just find hiring alert corporate. I am fitted for this role. I'm sending my application, even if there is some filtration required for number of years of experiences or fresh law graduates, not fresh law graduates, but we are sending it because now we have got one email ID and we have to ensure that our CV has to go there. So I think reading is the most basic first step that all of us need to practice. That's important. And I think personal agony. Now that Shilpa asked you that question, I think personal agony is I am really tired of getting internship and job requests on Instagram. It is very personal. I think till the time it used to come on WhatsApp, I'd still give it an excuse because I think a lot of work has now moved to WhatsApp, so I really can't complain about it. But Instagram is recreational. It is not in the strictest sense professional unless you are, most of law firms also are using Instagram for healthy bite-sized content or infotainment content where you give information as well as some sort of entertainment. But if I'm on Instagram, and not just me, anybody, a lot of people have their personal side to it. Please do not use Instagram as a ways and means to apply for jobs. It is very impersonal, and I think it is just intruding into somebody's privacy. That's really not cool.
Yes, yes. So definitely, all of you should respect people's, the private spaces and apply only through those LinkedIn or through email ID. But as Nipun rightly said, do read what is that requirement or ask for. Just don't try luck anywhere and everywhere. It will not work out. It will never work out. So thank you. So a lot of takeaways from this conversation. At least I learned a lot from both of your experience, and I hope the listeners and the attendees who have been listening to us have been part of this one. They have something to take away from this, and I hope we continue this discussion here onwards. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much
Thank
for.
you for making us a part of this, Santosh. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thanks. Bye.